Gregory Peck finally talks about Robert Mitchum. Gregory Peck was born with the name Eldred Gregory Peck on April 5, 1916, in La Jolla, California. His childhood wasn't always happy. His parents got divorced when he was just a little boy, and his grandmother mostly took care of him. Even with these tough times early on, Peck was tall, looked important, and acted calm and dignified from a young age. After going to San Diego State College, he moved to the University of California, Berkeley, where he really got interested in acting. It was here that Peck found the job that would change his whole life, and he soon decided to work really hard at it. In the 1940s, Peck started his career on stage, and his hard work and natural skills quickly got him to Broadway. People who watched his shows noticed him, and Hollywood wanted him, so he made his first movie in Days of Glory in 1944. People watching movies right away loved how honest he seemed, how he could play characters that were warm and good, and how he looked so impressive. Very quickly, Peck became a main movie star, acting in famous movies like The Keys of the Kingdom in 1944, which got him his first Oscar nomination, and Spellbound in 1945, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. As the 1940s and 1950s went on, Peck's career got really successful. He became one of the biggest movie stars of that time. People knew him for being able to play many different kinds of characters. He played a troubled newspaper worker in Gentleman's Agreement in 1947, a movie that bravely talked about people being mean to Jewish people, and his acting got him another Oscar nomination. In cowboy movies like Duel in the Sun in 1946 and The Gunfighter in 1950, he brought seriousness and deep feeling to movies that were usually more about action than studying characters. He also did great in romantic movies like Roman Holiday in 1953, where his chemistry with Audrey Hepburn made one of the movie's most loved couples. The most important role of Peck's career happened in 1962, when he played the honest lawyer Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. Based on Harper Lee's prize-winning book, the movie showed Peck as a man who always did the right thing, cared about others, and was brave. His quiet strength and amazing acting won him the Oscar for Best Actor, and Atticus Finch became a famous character that stood for fairness, justice, and the best things about American values. Even many years later, people still say this role is one of the greatest in movie history. Peck's career kept going strong through the 1960s, 70s, and into the 80s, with memorable acting in movies like Cape Fear in 1962, where he played a different type of character as someone being hurt by Robert Mitchum's scary bad guy, The Guns of Navarone in 1961, a big war adventure movie, and McKenna's Gold in 1969, which showed his charm in Western storytelling. In 1976, he was in the scary movie The Omen, showing himself to a new group of moviegoers and proving he could change with what audiences wanted. Besides his work in movies, Gregory Peck was loved for being honest, caring, and helping people. He spoke up about social justice, civil rights, and freedom of speech. He supported causes that helped people, gave his name and time to groups that promoted equality, and never was afraid to take a good stand, even if people didn't like it. For everything he did for arts and society, he got many honors, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1969, one of the highest awards regular citizens can get in the United States. In October 1942, during the early years when his career was getting bigger, Gregory Peck married Finnish-American Greta Kukkonen, 1911 to 2008. Greta, who had moved to the United States from Finland, was a woman who was really independent and good at business. She later got involved in charity and helping work, and during her life she was important in the Finnish-American community in Los Angeles. With Greta, Peck built his first family, and together they had 3 sons. Their first child, Jonathan Peck, was born in 1944, followed by Stephen in 1946, and then Carrie Paul in 1949. Each child brought happiness and joy into Peck's life at a time, when his Hollywood career was also doing really well. Even though the marriage between Gregory and Greta lasted for more than 10 years, the couple slowly grew apart with problems that couldn't be fixed. After years of trouble, they officially got divorced in December 1955, ending a 13-year marriage. The divorce was a sad time in Peck's personal life, but the worst thing happened years later when he lost his oldest son, Jonathan. On June 26, 1975, Jonathan was found dead at his home in what the police said was a suicide. He was only 30 years old. This terrible thing left a mark on Peck's heart that would never go away, and it became a sadness he carried with him for the rest of his life. Talking openly about losing his son, Peck once said, "It's the most terrible thing that has happened to me in my life. You never get over a thing like that." His words showed the deep pain of a father who, even with all his fame and success, couldn't protect his family from heartbreak. People who knew Peck said that Jonathan's death really changed him, making his quiet dignity and caring have an even deeper layer of understanding and seriousness. Only a short time after his first marriage ended, Gregory Peck found love again. On New Year's Eve in 1955, just one day after his divorce from Greta was finished, he married the French-born journalist Véronique Pisani, 1932–2012. Véronique had first met Peck in 1952 while working as a reporter in Paris. She was told to interview him just before he left for Italy to film Roman Holiday, the movie that would become one of the most famous roles of his career. Their meeting made a big impression, and 6 months later, Peck called to ask her to lunch. That one gesture started a lifelong romance. The two soon became inseparable, united not only by love, but also by sharing a love of culture, travel, and family life. Together, Gregory and Véronique had 2 children. Their son, Anthony Peck, was born in 1956, followed by their daughter Cecilia Peck in 1958. Anthony grew up to follow what his father did, trying acting while also becoming known for his famous marriage to supermodel Cheryl Tiegs, though that marriage later ended in divorce. Cecilia also loved creative arts, becoming an actress, producer, and documentary filmmaker, continuing her father's way of thoughtful storytelling. Unlike Peck's first marriage, his second one lasted. Gregory and Véronique stayed married for almost 50 years from 1955 until his death in 2003. Their partnership was really admired in Hollywood, with many people saying they were one of the industry's most loving and long-lasting couples. Gregory Peck also loved being a grandfather, finding joy in his family continuing through many generations. He had grandchildren from both of his marriages, and one of them is actor Ethan Peck, the son of Stephen Peck. Ethan has continued the family's artistic tradition, getting noticed in TV and movies, including his role as Spock in the Star Trek Discovery series and its spin-off, Strange New Worlds. Through his children and grandchildren, Peck's legacy continues not only in Hollywood, but also in the values of honesty, caring, and dignity that he showed throughout his life. For years, Hollywood insiders and classic movie fans wondered about the relationship between 2 of the greatest actors of their time, Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. Both men were huge figures in movies, showing strength, honesty, and charm in very different ways. Peck was often remembered for his noble, dignified way of acting, the perfect symbol of moral authority in films like To Kill a Mockingbird. Mitchum, on the other hand, had a tough, unpredictable energy, an actor whose cool distance and quiet scariness made him one of the most interesting stars of the mid-20th century. While the two appeared together most famously in Cape Fear in 1962, with Peck as the good lawyer and Mitchum as the terrifying ex-prisoner, neither man ever talked much about the other, leaving fans to wonder whether they had been friends, rivals, or just work colleagues who went their separate ways after filming was done. It wasn't until later in his life that Gregory Peck finally chose to talk about the subject, giving rare insight into his thoughts on Robert Mitchum as both an actor and a man. Peck, usually careful and thoughtful in what he said publicly, surprised many by giving a heartfelt recognition of Mitchum's talent. He admitted that while their acting styles couldn't have been more different, his own based on classical training, careful preparation, and a deep moral belief, while Mitchum often relied on instinct, very little rehearsal, and an effortless naturalness, he had a deep respect for Mitchum's artistry. Mitchum, Peck once explained, had a way of becoming a character that didn't look like acting at all. He made it look easy, but that was his genius. Coming from Peck, whose career had been built on discipline and refinement, this was a powerful compliment to Mitchum's unique screen presence. Peck also shared memories of working with Mitchum on Cape Fear, a project that required the two actors to play complete opposites. Peck, the example of upright goodness; Mitchum, the very face of evil and intimidation. Peck revealed that even when not filming, Mitchum carried a scary presence, one that made the role of Max Cady all the more chilling. Yet Peck was quick to add that behind the scenes, Mitchum's wit and intelligence often made the mood lighter. He described him as a man who could ease a tense set with a single sarcastic comment or a quick laugh, something that made the long, hard shoot bearable. For Peck, it was proof that Mitchum was not only a complete professional, but also someone who understood the balance between seriousness and fun in the creative process. Still, Peck didn't avoid talking about the darker parts of Mitchum's reputation. Known for his rebellious streak, trouble with the law, and not caring about Hollywood rules, Mitchum had always been something of an outsider. Peck admitted that as a man who valued order, family, and responsibility, he sometimes found Mitchum's lifestyle confusing. However, rather than judging him, Peck seemed to admire Mitchum's refusal to fit in. He was his own man, Peck explained. He never tried to fit into anyone else's idea of what a movie star should be. That takes courage, and I respected that about him. It was a striking admission suggesting that the quiet lawyer of To Kill a Mockingbird and the brooding anti-hero of Out of the Past shared a mutual recognition of being real, even if they showed it in different ways. In breaking his silence about Mitchum, Gregory Peck gave fans a rare look into the relationship between two giants of cinema. He reminded audiences that Hollywood history is not just written in scripts or filmed in studios, but shaped by the complex relationships between the actors who bring those stories to life. Peck's words showed admiration, curiosity, and even a touch of jealousy for Mitchum's effortless style, balanced with his own deeply held values of discipline and structure. In the end, what Peck showed most clearly was respect. Respect for a fellow artist whose legacy, like his own, would last long after the lights of Hollywood's golden age had dimmed. On June 12, 2003, the world lost one of its most lasting and beloved screen legends when Gregory Peck died in his sleep at the age of 87. His death was caused by bronchopneumonia, a serious lung infection that often kills elderly people, and it came after a long life filled with personal victories, professional awards, and decades of influence both within and beyond the movie industry. Peck's death was not just the quiet end of a long career, but also the closing of a chapter in Hollywood's golden age, because he had been one of its most famous figures, admired for his dignity, his commanding presence, and the moral authority he brought to nearly every role he played. Peck died at his home in Los Angeles, California, a city that had been central to his career and life since his early days as a young actor, struggling to make a name for himself in Hollywood. The fact that he died peacefully in the comfort of his own home added to the sense of calm and grace with which he seemed to carry himself throughout his life. Unlike some of his fellow actors who met with tragic or troubled ends, Peck's death reflected the peace and stability that he valued in both his personal and professional life. At his bedside during those final hours was his devoted second wife, Veronique Passani Peck, who had been his constant companion for nearly 5 decades. The bond between Gregory and Veronique had been one of the most important parts of his later life. They married in 1955, shortly after his divorce from his first wife, and together they built not only a family, but also a life based on shared beliefs, charity work, and a love of the arts. Veronique, a French journalist whom he had met while on a press tour in Paris, brought into his life a worldly style and steady support that helped keep him going through the highs and lows of fame. That she was at his side in his final moments showed the depth of their partnership and the lasting nature of their love story. The news of Peck's death spread quickly across the world, and tributes came in from fellow actors, directors, political leaders, and countless fans who had grown up watching him on the screen. For many, his death felt personal, as if they had lost not just a movie star, but a person who represented honesty, compassion, and a kind of old-fashioned honor, rarely seen in Hollywood. His portrayal of Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962, had already made him immortal as a symbol of decency and justice. And after his death, that image only became more touching. The quiet way in which he died, with Veronique nearby, seemed right for a man who had always shown a calm strength, never needing dramatics to get attention or respect. In the years that followed, Veronique worked tirelessly to preserve her husband's memory and legacy, making sure that new generations would continue to learn not only about his career, but also about the values he stood for. Memorial services in Los Angeles were attended by some of the biggest names in Hollywood, alongside family, friends, and admirers from all walks of life. His death marked the end of an era, but his presence continues in the timeless roles he left behind and in the quiet nobility of the life he lived.